Hello and welcome back to the Drama Coach podcast. Today I'm joined by Rebecca Rendic, an actor and filmmaker who has been sharing really thoughtful content around acting and the reality of the industry. One of the things that stood out to me was how she talks about rejection and how we handle it, which is something I know so many of you are navigating at the moment. So let's get into it. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. I love that you're here. Please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your work.
So I'm Rebecca. I'm originally from Finland and currently I live in Switzerland. I've been acting for about 10 years now, starting out with the kind of theater and musical theater, and then I switched over into the film and TV scene about 4 years ago, I'd say, starting with some short films and commercials and so. I think that's the gist of it.
Awesome. Thank you. So let's get straight into rejection then. Sometimes people hear, well, actually, a lot of the time people hear rejection is part of the industry. I'm always spouting that as advice as well. But it doesn't make it easy, does it? So what does it feel like for you in real terms when you are rejected?
I mean, I think nobody likes being rejected in any context. And I think it really is the learning process of you just have to figure out how you can personally deal with it because it's also so different for everyone. For me personally, I think, especially in the beginning, it would always hit me very hard and it kind of always made me doubt my abilities and had that kind of effect that then I'd really start overthinking everything I was doing. And I think then over time, I just kind of learned to compartmentalize a bit more and kind of realize that if I feel confident and if I know that I did my best, it's really not about me. And then that helped me kind of move to a more kind of free space where rejection doesn't bother me as much.
Yes, that's brilliant for young listeners and the parents to say it's not about you, it's not about your ability. It's actually 100 different parts of the puzzle that's going on. But if people are new to the industry, and again, parents navigating it for the first time, they don't know this. And a child that's always been praised at getting things right and being good is suddenly rejected. I think that can be really tough. Does it hit you instantly for you, or does it creep in later, or a combination?
In the beginning, it would always hit me immediately. It was especially, I think, with theater roles, it's more common to actually get a rejection, like with a lot of movie roles and stuff. Like if you don't get it, you just never hear back.
Yeah.
But I think with theater in the beginning, it was really like getting an email that was like, sorry, we went in the other direction. It would be an immediate, oh no, what am I going to do now? Why wasn't I good enough? What could I have done differently? Whereas now I got to a point that I kind of hit submit and then I don't think about it again and I just move on. But then I think, especially the last few years or from the beginning of this year as well, I've been having a lot of auditions and callbacks and a lot of them kind of self-tapes I was super proud of. And it really was like, this was the best what I could do. And it was like, I was kind of, just very satisfied with the tapes and everything. And then I wouldn't end up booking it or something. And I think having a lot of those kinds of things in a row started kind of creeping up on me. And then that's what kind of prompted me also to get on social media and be like, yeah, we're not alone in this and it's totally okay. And I think the main part is like, I also don't want to dwell on the rejections, even if there is many. I think it's okay to feel upset or sad about it for a little bit, but I think the more you kind of stay in it, the worse it's going to start affecting you in the long run as well.
So it sounds, oh, sorry, go on.
Go on.
So it sounds to me as if the accumulation of rejection started to hit you, but that also then began to free you and for you to search and find your tribe, if you like, and reach out to others and connect in that way. Oh, yes. Sorry, carry on, because I did interrupt you, and I was wondering if this has changed over time for you.
Yeah, I think this kind of just move on mentality is, I think switching over from theater to film and TV stuff helped with it because then it's kind of so much waiting. And sometimes even if you did book the role, you don't hear anything for months. So it's kind of, you really cannot be checking your email and hoping and waiting. And I think that shift helped me do the mental shift as well. And then I think also in general, just kind of connecting with more people in the industry, whether they're actors or in other parts, and kind of seeing that, yeah, it really is something that we all go through and that we all have in common. So it's really not a case of just I'm getting rejected or just I feel stuck. It's really kind of a universal thing because I think this is maybe the thing. I think a lot of young actors who get into a game, having been one myself, it's kind of you assume that this overnight success is a real thing. But it isn't. It's not a
Mm.
realistic thing, and it's like any overnight success is not actually an overnight success. There's so much work that goes into that, and
But
not only
nobody's seen it, have they? So they just
yeah,
presume
exactly.
it's an overnight success.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, and that's the thing. It's like our industry is also so much about being knowing the right people, being in the right place at the right time, as well as just talent. So it's kind of yeah, I guess the key of just not taking the rejection personally. And that is definitely a learning curve because, of course, in the beginning, kind of getting a lot of no's does hurt and it can really make you doubt yourself. So I think that's why it's also so important that, especially young actors, get the training and find coaches who are very honest and direct. Because I think a big issue as well is like if someone starts super young, parents mean well, but then if they're constantly kind of like just praising it and not giving proper feedback, it can really set an unrealistic expectation or standard of one's abilities.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of always like not sure where you actually stand. So I think that's why it's very important to have kind of outsiders who don't have kind of a necessarily moral reason to just praise you, if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense. I was talking to an actor earlier, and we were saying that balance for a parent is really difficult because you don't want to completely brush it off, but you also don't want to feel too upset or too anxious ahead of the audition because
Yeah.
children absolutely feed off of that energy. And we were talking about the adults needing to be, well, having had therapy or be, cool with themselves and their emotions so that you could easily go one way or the other. And I think we can
Yeah,
do that for ourselves, can't we? We can either just brush off. I don't know. Brushing off is good, I think, in ourselves rather than wallowing in it. But I think if other people are brushing it off, and we're allowed to feel upset about it. We need to find that balance, don't we? That we're
absolutely.
not stuck in one way or the other. So what I know about you, and I do this a lot with my daughter too, is that you reframe rejection. And it sounds like you do that a lot by reaching out to others. How do you do this personally, and what works well for you to reframe the word rejection?
I think kind of yeah, going back to the kind of confidence thing is I know that I've really put in the work and I know that I'm happy with the work that I'm submitting. So I think the worst feeling is if you get rejected and you have this voice being like, oh, but it's because you didn't do this and you could have done better. And I think if you kind of learn to silence that voice and you're
Mhm.
just really happy with the material that you're putting out there, it really helps a lot because then it's so much easier to focus on all the other hundreds of reasons to why they might have said no. And
Yes.
especially because I mean, I love working in the film industry and it's amazing, but at the same time, it is a very harsh industry. And the reasons for rejections are also sometimes so ridiculous. It can be like, oh, we already had an actor who looks like you, or oh,
Mm.
no, we actually want a blonde for this role,
Yeah.
or you're too tall. That's that it happens to me a lot that I can't even submit because I'm too tall for the.
Oh, bless you. How frustrating. And there'll be
Yeah,
other people who can't submit because they're too short as well. Yes, that puzzle building is really difficult. And also it changes and develops when you might be
absolutely.
right at submission and then something else changes. They see something they didn't realize they wanted, things change,
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
and it just doesn't work out. But I do find it refreshing how you've clearly learnt to manage this, which is brilliant. So what
And
sort
it
of
took
things
a while.
yeah, fair enough. I think it does. And I'm really trying to give those nuggets of advice to the young people and their parents so that hopefully it won't take them as long as it's taken some of us. So let's think about the things that you do tell yourself. So you tell yourself you've done a good tape or a good audition and you're proud of your work. What else has helped shift your mindset? Is there anything else going on there?
Well, I think specifically because self tapes are all the rage right now. With those, I have a rule that when I start, I set a maximum number of takes,
Mm.
usually less than five, and
Yes.
ideally between one and three takes, literally. Because with self tapes, it's very easy to kind of be overly critical, and you just are like, no, but I'll do it one more time and I'll fix that word, or I'll do it one more time and not make that face, and then
Hmm.
it kind of you get so far from the original emotional depth
Yeah.
of the scene when you're, like, on your 10th take or something.
Hmm.
So I think I really set that boundary for myself, because it also brings you closer to the feeling of being back in the room, because when you're doing a live audition, you do the scene once and that's it. You can't
Hmm.
go back and erase it or something. And I think that was a big thing that I also when I first started doing self-tapes, I would spend, like, 5 hours doing a single tape, and that is so tiring, especially that
Yes.
my poor parents at the time were my readers, and they'd just be there like, Honey, I have work to do." I'm like, "1 more, 1 more, 1 more." And then now I'm kind of very prompt with it. And I also found that actually having a reader that I don't know well personally helps me because it puts more pressure on me. I found that if I was having a friend or a family member read, kind of, I guess, yeah, I was more relaxed and I wasn't really performing in a way. Or it was kind
Oh,
of like
that's
if I messed up, I
interesting.
just started over. Whereas if I have kind of an external person doing the reading, I'm like, I don't want to waste their time. I don't want to waste
Yes.
my time. And then I just feel more on it.
So a lot of our listeners, the parents will be the child's reader. So if you are stuck with your parents, what are good tips for the parents as a reader? So ideally, especially if you're older, get yourself an external reader. I think, yeah, we do raise our game, especially one who is an actor and understands, even
Yeah.
better if you can. But of course, it's not about them; it's about your response to them. But it is good if they're not, I don't know, super robotic with their lines. What can parents do to be a good reader?
I would say I would honestly rather have a robotic reader than
Hmm.
someone who overacts. And
Okay.
I think this is I mean, I love my father. He did so many self-tapes with me, but I kind of very quickly realized I was like, he tends to over dramatize it a bit to the kind of, yeah, more like funny extent, which then can also unfortunately throw off the casting
Yeah.
director because I've
Yeah.
talked to a lot of casting directors that say that, yeah, if the reader is annoying them, it really like takes away from the performance. So I think try to be very natural with the reading, but and also really you're reading, you're not acting should be the mentality, I would say. Um,
I need to listen to this because I'm often my daughter's reader. And especially if there are a lot of different characters, I like to give them different voices and eye lines. And yeah, I make sure
yeah,
I'm not mic'd at least.
yeah, but that's the thing. I think eye lines is definitely good. Like if there is multiple characters, then have a different eye line for each. But I would really for the reader, I would keep it very almost not monotone, but very natural. Also, I guess
Mm.
because this is the thing. I had an actor friend of mine doing a few self tapes with me a couple months back, and he was also almost like acting fully, which kind of threw me off because for tape, that's not necessarily good. Also, because the casting office kind of wants to see your authentic reaction. And
Hmm.
if your reader is very performative or is actually acting as well, you're reacting to them rather than the script, if that
Mm.
makes sense.
No, that does
But
make sense.
yeah, but I think there's a very fine line between how to do it and how not to. And it's like some casting directors probably really like it if the reader is also acting and others don't. So it's really a gamble, I guess. But
Yeah, and I think if it's working for you, and like you comes back to your point about being proud of your work, if you feel you and your reader has done have done a good job for that piece and it sat right with you,
yeah.
then you can feel proud and you can forget about it. It doesn't matter if you never hear,
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
not so much anyway. Awesome. Let's come to social media then and comparison and you reaching out and connecting with people. That's how we connected. I found you on social media and I enjoyed the things that you were saying and you were sharing. Let's bring it into the mix. Does sharing your work online ever, and this could be you talking about your work or your actual work, does it make rejection harder or easier?
That is a very good question. I think there's both sides because it's sometimes you'll post a scene and you get the best comments and you're like, oh my God, people think I'm a good actor. And then other times you post something that you're also proud of and then like crickets, nothing.
Yeah.
And I
Oh,
think
we
it,
should just add, actually, sorry to interrupt you again,
no,
that you should never share, and I know you know this, but for anybody listening, you should never share a self tape or information about something until you have permission to do so. Either
yeah,
it's been
definitely.
aired or, especially if you signed an NDA, of course. So
Yeah.
do be careful about that, parents. Don't be stick on these lovely parent managed accounts. Don't just be sticking out every self tape. Be very careful because you don't want to lose the job before you've got it. Sorry, Rebecca. Now you can carry on.
No, that is a very valid point. Yeah, so I think for me, the main idea of also posting was that social media is becoming more central in the industry.
Mm.
Because a lot of casting directors and agents also do go through social media, and if they find someone that they find castable, they might want to work with them. So it is very important to have a presence of some sorts in social media. It doesn't have to be posting every day, but just that kind of that you leave your footprint on there, that you can be found. And I think for me, that was the main motivation at first. But then I really realized that there is a very supportive community out there.
That's
And
lovely.
it is so nice to kind of talk with people who have had the same experiences and kind of share your own tips and tricks, especially because I think the acting industry is kind of difficult in the way that if you have a lot of friends who are actors, like that's the case with me, for example, and then a lot of the time we're going out for the same roles. And
Oh,
it's
that's
this,
difficult.
yeah. And it's, I think in general, there's such a kind of negative atmosphere in the industry sometimes of we're all
Mhm.
competing and it's every man for themselves. And I really feel like the whole industry should move away from that and more
Me
into a,
too.
let's all support each other and
Yes.
be companions instead of competitors, I guess.
Yes.
Um,
Oh, I love that. That's beautiful.
And yeah, I think that's especially because in Switzerland, for example, the industry is quite small, and especially the English speaking industry is tiny. And then that means I know like 80% of everyone. So if I go to an audition, especially live, I will know everyone else there. If I submit and I don't end up getting it, when I actually see the commercial, I see the
You
film,
know
I
them.
know the actor who's doing the role I
Yeah.
auditioned for. And it can be a very kind of difficult inner struggle because part of you is like, well, I'm upset that I didn't get it, but of course I'm happy that this
Oh,
person who I know is
yes.
talented and very good for the role got it. And I think with this being on social media kind of helps because you can also celebrate other people's success. And I think this important it's important not to compare. And it's very difficult not to, but especially because with social media, there is a big thing of kind of showcasing all the cool stuff and like, oh, I was
Mm.
and I did this and I did this and this. And then now I think there's slowly a rise of people also sharing that, oh, I got rejected, or this is what I do in between jobs, or this is what I do when I feel stuck. And I think it's amazing to see a rise in this kind of content because
Yes.
it's a very important kind of reality check and also that kind of showing that, yeah, we really are not alone and there's a lot of us in the same position and that it's okay to sometimes not get booked into a long time and
Mhm.
then we can still all celebrate together when we do get the role. Or that's maybe the thing. I think even just getting the audition, getting the call back, that's already a huge success. And it's I think I saw this on social media. Someone was saying that kind of auditioning is the job, and then
Yes. I saw
yeah,
that too.
auditioning
I
is the
love to
job,
say
but
that
then the acting role
as
is
a
the kind of
bonus.
reward. And yeah,
Yes.
and I really loved that because
Mm.
I was like, we really do put so much effort into auditioning, and then it's like, yeah, what is that? Ever old 400 tapes, you'll maybe get one yes.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunately a very accurate
Yeah.
statistic. And I think we really just have to be like, we shouldn't measure success with, oh, what's the biggest film you've been in? This is also like when you talk to non-actors, the first question is like, oh, have I seen you in anything?
Mhm.
And I'm like,
Really
see, now I say,
frustrating.
yeah, I'm like, if I say no, they're gonna be like, oh, so it's like a hobby. But I'm like, well,
No, I'd like it not to be a hobby. But, you need to sustain yourself and all the rest of it.
yeah,
Whereas young performers that are currently living with their parents, they can treat the audition as the job and then the part as a reward because, okay, it
yeah,
still costs the parents a little bit. We've talked about this before to get them to auditions or equipment, etc. But, they haven't got to find money to pay a mortgage or whatever, pay
yeah,
rent. So I think they're a little freer. But I think from what I've seen, the parents also use social media differently. So, of course, they're parent managed accounts. No child should be on social media. And they do use them to celebrate. And it's wonderful. I follow lots of them and I see lots of wonderful things. But just what you've mentioned of sometimes sharing the rejection, the hardship, and feeling together in that, I haven't seen much of that yet. Maybe it's just the accounts of I follow. And I think as a parent, you would be reluctant to go, oh, my poor child didn't get it this time and she's feeling sad. But actually, perhaps there needs to be that same turn for those parent accounts as well, because perhaps then they might connect, share, and help a little bit more. Oh, that's the first time that's come
yeah,
up in this podcast.
yeah.
I hadn't
I mean,
thought of
I
it like
think
that.
there definitely is something there because I think when it's about okay, this sounds kind of weird, but I guess when it's if you're sharing something more negative,
Mm.
there's people have this need to kind of be like, "Oh, no, but it's okay, and it's all gonna be good, and, like, maybe the next role will be it." Whereas I feel like there is a big issue with kind of, yeah, comparison and jealousy when it's about good things.
Yeah.
So I think there really is, I guess it's, again, about balance. Like, there has to be, of course, you can share when good stuff happens, but you also shouldn't be scared to share the rejections or so. And I mean, I think when it's parent managed accounts, I think it does make sense that they're just kind of posting the success stories or kind of like, oh, audition time, something like this. And it's fun to see. But then I think for the young actors themselves, it's going to be helpful to see older actors who are kind of being like,
Mm,
well, I've been doing this for a while and I'm still not in a Disney show, but I'm still
yes.
an actor and that's totally okay. So I think it can be kind of more like, yeah, that just the younger actors have a realistic example to look up to, if that makes sense.
Yes. So I get my daughter to follow her acting account that's created by me. She looks at it and I said, don't be liking all the like sisters and kittens and stuff because you're trying to get inspiration as an adult. As an actor. And so that's such a good tip. Go and follow those adult actors that seem to be being honest and showing both the ups and the downs of the industry. That's a really good idea, rather than as a parent, you're so tempted to follow other parent managed accounts.
Yeah.
I'm going to go and do that later on today. I think I do anyway, as the drama coach, sort of follow quite a variety of actors. But that's such a good tip to, and then the parent can see a good, useful video and say, hey, are we doing these things to keep your mental health in check or
Yeah, exactly.
whatever it might be? Oh, that's great. Thank you. So what helps you? Let's think about identity beyond acting, because we can absolutely, as actors,
Yes.
get obsessed, and that is our one thing. Is there something that really um helps you to have an identity other than just acting and have that balance?
I think there are many things because I work a lot also outside of acting in other areas. I do kind of marketing things and then also very cliche actor jobs. I work at a cafe and babysit things like this.
I
And
think
I
that's
think,
fine as long as you enjoy it. Like if you're connecting
yeah,
with people and enjoying it, that's fine. I think if it's
yeah,
dragging you
exactly.
down, then that's not cool. Yeah,
Yeah. No, I enjoy everything. I'm quite
that's
busy,
good.
but it's all in good spirits. But I think that and then kind of very simple things keep me grounded, like just spending time with my loved ones and doing sports. I love going to the gym or for a hike or so, and just kind of small things like that. And then I think overall, I think the main thing that keeps me kind of grounded or that I also think makes me a better actor is the fact that I'm very comfortable with myself and I know who I am
Yes, which
outside of
often
that.
comes with age, so that's really hard for the young
Yeah, of
performers.
course.
Yes,
But
that's wonderful.
I think especially when I was young, I used to hear a lot of this, like, if you love anything other than acting, do that. And
Ah,
this is a kind of famous quote or saying that I really never could agree with. And I still really don't because I think it's totally okay to have other interests and it's totally okay to also want to do other things. And it's like, if you want to go to university and study law and still do acting, then do it. Like,
mm,
there's no reason not to. Also, because I think, yeah, knowing yourself as a person is so important for acting because at least my approach to no matter what the role is, I try to find pieces of that role in myself
mm.
rather than like lock myself away and just be a fake person. I'm like, I played a very mean girl character in a movie last summer. And that was so, it was the first time I was playing a mean character. It was the first time I was really like, or my character was doing the things that I was like, "This is so horrible."
Mm.
And then I was like, if I approach it from the point of, "Oh, it's just a horrible person," I'm never gonna get anywhere.
No, you
And then
won't
I had to really
connect.
kind
Yeah.
of dive into the character and be kind of like, "Okay, but why is she this way?" And then it stems from insecurity and stems from this and that. And then I found those aspects of myself to kind of unlock the character to just make sure that it was a real performance. And that's something that I wouldn't have been able to do if I wasn't kind of self-aware and
Yes.
if I didn't know myself. So I think even stuff like journaling or meditation, things like this can also help you really stay grounded and be more comfortable with yourself so that then you can be more versatile as an actor as well.
And you can journal at any age. The
Yeah.
parents can help them with the sort of ideas or starting points, or
Yeah,
just let
exactly.
them free write what comes to
Yeah.
mind and stick it in a little journal. And I was talking earlier about reflecting on work and what children might say went well or what could go better and one thing they learnt. And they could almost keep that. You could have one side for that and one side for journaling, perhaps, and just keep those notebooks, which
Yeah,
would be really fun to
absolutely.
look back on as well, I would
Yeah.
imagine. Ah, that's cute. I like that. So for these young performers then, what would you say to a young actor who's perhaps just been rejected or has had a heap of rejections and is feeling like they're not getting anywhere at the moment?
I mean, this is the ever old thing, but just always keep getting more training and keep trying. There's always more to learn. And
Mm,
especially if you start out in the industry super young, you have so much time. There are so many actors who don't even get into it before their 50s or even 60s.
yeah.
And it's kind of like there really is no correct timeline. So try not to compare yourself to these overnight successes
Hmm.
or just really set yourself realistic goals and rather small goals. Or it's like if your goal is to book a Netflix show, then do a list of all the things that need to happen before you can do that and kind of very much break it down into super manageable steps. So
Hmm.
it's not like a pipe dream, but it's an actual plan. And then really it's a case of you just have to keep going. And it takes a long time to shift the mindset, but I think kind of if you manage to get to a point of like you hit submit on an audition and then you don't even think about it anymore, it becomes a lot easier.
Yes.
It can take a while to get there, but I think this is also where the parents can help because I think my parents or in general some of my friends have I think sometimes been more upset about the rejections than I have.
I've talked about this before. Yes, tell us
Um,
about that.
this is I had last summer I was in the running for a very big project. It was like my dream role by far, and I actually got into the final selection. And then it fell through the last stage. And I was like, I was a bit upset because I really had been something that I had always dreamed of that role and that thing. And then, but I was like, okay, I cannot be that upset about it because it's already an achievement that I actually had the audition, that they
Yes,
told
I
me
was
that
going
they
to
know
say
my
that.
name. And then I had told a couple of my friends and then my family about it. And then they were like, "Oh, so any updates?" So I was like, "Oh yeah, I didn't end up getting it." And then I think for the next week, all I heard is, "Oh, you should would have
Oh,
been
that's so
so good
sad
in
for
this,"
you.
or
Yeah.
"So sad," or da da. I'm like, I know it's coming from a good place, but this is not helping me move on. I'm like, I was sad for a couple hours after I got the email,
Mhm.
but then I was like, on to the next thing. Fine.
And it's unhelpful, isn't it, to have
It,
them
yeah,
and
it's
I
just
had that as a youngster, and I've
yeah,
reflected on it now, and I've said to my mum, it was really sweet, but it wasn't helpful because then I felt like I'd let you down, and then I kept having to tell all the family that I didn't
yeah,
get this
exactly.
part. Yeah,
Or
it's
this is the
tricky.
other thing I think a lot of parents, if their child gets a call back and gets into later stages, it's immediately a Facebook update. And I'm like, it
Yeah,
cannot be a
okay.
Facebook update. It's not even just because of the pressure, then if the child doesn't get it, that's one thing. But even like, yeah, you have to keep in mind NDAs, all of that. And there are so many reasons not to just post it on Facebook kind of thing.
Mm,
And I think
yeah,
my
it's good
own mom did
advice.
this with, I think actually, yeah, that role from last summer that before, like I was just like in the final running and that was known. And then she was already kind of like, she didn't luckily give out any details, but she was kind of like posting like, oh, and my daughter is doing so well with this and this. And then I was like,
It's
well,
coming from a place of love and pride.
it's coming from a good place, but this can absolutely not be
No,
happening right now.
no. That's a really good piece of advice for parents because, like I said, so many have got those parent managed accounts and they want to celebrate success. But yeah, be careful. And
Really,
it is great. We should be celebrating callbacks. I say celebrate
yeah,
all of
absolutely.
those layers, and you said the acting job is a bonus on top. So celebrate them, but just be careful in the ways that you do that because
Yeah,
you could be
exactly.
putting a whole heap of extra pressure or disappointment around that. Yeah, and you know what works for your child.
Yeah,
If you know that they'd rather all their family knew every stage and that's supportive, then great, go
yeah,
for it, as long as it's
yeah,
not breaking an NDA. But if you know that's going to be a heap of disappointment to explain again and again and again that you didn't get that role, then yeah, hold off on that
yes,
social
exactly.
media update. I think that's brilliant advice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rebecca.
I think also the other thing, quickly adding on to kind of
Go for it.
parents supporting the kids, I think it's very important to obviously you want to be supportive as a parent, but I think if someone really wants to make it in the industry, not only do you have to be able to handle rejection, but also criticism. So I think it's
This
a
is a
point
good
also
point.
about the balance because obviously no one wants to kind of hurt their child or be like, well, that was really bad. But
No.
it's it's almost more valuable to kind of give constructive criticism than to just be like, "Oh, that was so good. That was so good. That was so good." I'm like, then I'm never going to have something to compare to if everything I did was so good,
Mm.
but it didn't book. So then what was the best and what was the worst? So I think really kind of in the beginning as well, like especially because there are a lot of parents of young performers, I think, who themselves have some sort of experience also in the industry. And I think especially if you have your own experience, you can kind of come at it from that coach angle instead of a
Yeah.
parent angle, which it can be a tough transition, of course, but I think it is very valuable because the second as well, like if you're actually in an audition room or you're meeting with casting directors, with the director, they will be very direct with the feedback because nobody has time to be sugarcoating things on
No.
set. And it's the same. I'm like, I've worked with a director before who really didn't give feedback on anything. And then I ended up seeing the final thing and I was like, I think these were the worst takes ever. And I was like, I didn't have any feedback to go on. And I couldn't see the footage as we were shooting because we were in a super tight schedule. And then now it's a project that I was excited to be part of it. And then it came out and I was like, I don't really want people to see this.
Oh, that's difficult.
But then I've also had directors who are so on it and they're like, that was terrible, do that again, or change this. And I'm like, it's the big transition. And at first it can be like, I'm sorry, did you just say that I was terrible? Why did you
And you
hire
can
me?
get overthinking then
Yeah,
on
you
set.
really
That's
can.
really difficult. Taking direction is a skill all in itself,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, that's the thing. It comes with don't take rejection personally. Do not take the criticism personally or the
Mm.
feedback because that's what you need. If you want to be on a screen and not be like, oh God, what am I doing? Then you have to take the criticism. You have to take the feedback.
Yeah.
And you like directors know what they're doing. And if something isn't working, they will tell you. And it's really not about you. It's like if they told you to cry here and then you cry and they're like, well, that was horrible. It's probably not about your crying. Like there's so much going on and people just really want to be snappy and direct so they can come off as rude sometimes, but it's not about you. I
Yeah.
think that's
It's
the
a
thing.
time pressure, isn't it? And a
Yeah.
budget pressure, so much going on. And often, I think when you get a director who is an actor, they'll sort of speak to you in actor speak. But often you'll get a director that isn't, and they will say a note to you, and you have to take it not
Yeah,
personally, but take it, translate it, and act upon it. And I think that's really
exactly.
tricky. Hmm.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's the other this is also what I'm starting to slowly do with my self tapes because I am a very stickler to the rules. So it's like if the instructions are so and so when it says submit one take, I just submit that.
Mhm.
I was talking to a couple of my actor friends recently and they said that they always submit two takes, like just super contrasting ones. And I think even if there is like very specific instructions, they'll do that, but then also something completely opposite. And if it's more open ended, just in general, to opposing like one in a serious way, one in a super
Mm.
comedic way. And I actually found that so cool as well. So I'm trying to implement that more now. That if there
I
is a chance,
suppose they don't have to watch the second take, do they? As long as you make sure your first take is that one that is stuck to the rules.
yeah,
And then if
exactly,
they decide to
exactly,
watch the bonus, because the last thing you want to do is go against the rules for your first take. I think as
yeah,
long as you submit them in the same order, or perhaps you've got an
yeah,
agent and they will double check whether
yeah,
this is, they
exactly,
might know the casting
yeah,
director and think, yeah, they'll love
yeah,
that.
exactly.
This
It's
is a
also
really good tip.
I talked to a casting director about it recently as well. I did a workshop in London with Run At It Shouting. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
I asked like what their opinion is on getting multiple tapes. And they also said that if it's two tapes, it's totally fine. Wouldn't go more than two. But if it's
No.
two and there's a clear actual difference between them, then that's totally fine. Because also sometimes it is like the casting briefs can be so short and it's just early 20s happy. And you're
Yeah.
like, okay, what do I do with this? So it's totally okay to play with it. And that's the thing. I think it's so important to remember, like, yes, we want a career out of this and yes, it's serious, but at the same time, you have to enjoy what you do and you want to have fun.
Yes.
And it's really acting is about playing. Like you're playing with just different versions of yourself is how I like to think about it. So I think really keep that spirit of this is fun and it's not so serious.
Hmm. I think if you get to the point, especially for a child as well, that you're not excited to receive that self tape, then maybe, and if that's happening frequently, then have a think about it. Maybe it's not not right. But yes, my
Yeah.
daughter, sometimes it depends. She's like, oh, do I have to do it today? Because I wanted to go out and play on my bike or whatever. I'm like, well, it's today or not at all because it's a short deadline. And then she's like, oh, okay, right, I'll do it. Whereas if there's a bit of time flexibility, we go, okay, well, here's the lines. We're going to book it in for tomorrow or whatever. I
Yeah.
find if we schedule it in, I said this on her episode, if we put it in the diary, it works. Unless, I
Yeah.
don't know, she might happen to be poorly or something like that. But generally, if we put it in the diary, it works and we can do it. But yeah, every time I get a self-tape, I'm still excited. I'm, oh, great, I get to
Yeah,
play.
absolutely.
Exactly what you say. Dress up a little bit, be this character and play. And I'll take that advice and think about the 2 takes. I can always get stuck on this is how it's supposed to be in my
Yeah,
mind, but
that's
let's
what
play.
I still really struggle with it because I talked with an actor friend and I was like, "Wait, really? Like, even if they specifically say 1?" He was like, "Yeah, no, I always do 2." And I'm like, "I
Ooh,
didn't know this was an
rebel.
option."
That's the good girls in us, I think,
Yeah,
that want to
absolutely.
do that. But actually, yeah, surely that's potentially giving yourself 2 chances. Because if they
Yeah.
don't like it, it just proves that they do like your first take, or they
Yeah,
just shows
exactly.
diversity,
And
doesn't it, and what you can
it
do.
can't hurt. It's
I
if
don't
yeah,
think
the
so.
first take is what they asked for specifically, and then the
Hmm.
second one is kind of a throwaway, but maybe
Hmm.
they see something in that one that wasn't there in the first one. And then or it can in general just show your versatility as an actor as well. So
I'd
there's
love
you
to
don't
know if
need
anyone, sorry, I'd love to know if anyone disagrees as well, because I'm trying to think of how it could potentially be negative. I suppose the only reason I could think is if they skipped through. If they saw
yeah,
the first bit and skipped through and then suddenly went, oh, she's completely different, and hadn't seen you say, and now for my second take,
yeah,
especially if you have to do it all in one file. But again, I suppose that's what agents are for. If you've got one,
yeah.
you can check in with them, or your coach or your manager or whoever you've got. Check in with them, I suppose, if you're unsure. That's the only thing I can think that's springing to mind immediately of
I
how
mean,
it
I think
could work against you.
like everything in the industry, there's so many different opinions.
Yeah.
And I think especially every casting director is very different.
Yeah, they're
Some
people, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly, but it's funny because I've been to a lot of workshops and things and also classes with different casting directors, and the ever age-old question is like, "Do you watch the full
Yeah.
tape?" About 50% say, "Yeah, of course we watch the full tape."
Mm.
Other 50% skip
I haven't
after
got the
10.
time. Yeah.
And it's really I don't think there is a single question in the industry where you'll get everyone to agree on the answer.
Oh, I've just thought of a way of overcoming the problem that I love that you're giving me all these ideas, Rebecca. What you could do, especially if you're editing in something, is just have take 1 small, maybe in the
Oh,
corner,
yeah.
and take 2. So if they do skip ahead, and maybe take 2 angry or younger or whatever
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
main difference is, there we go. Then I
Yeah.
feel like you're not risking anything by giving 2 takes if you've just got that
Yeah, if you can really
specifically
make sure they know it's 2
somewhere,
different.
not distracting from your performance, but just in case they were one of those 50% that skip ahead, then it could be nice and clear rather than you've had a flip personality
Yeah,
halfway through
absolutely.
your sides. Awesome. And I got so excited. I disrupted your train of thought. What were you going to say?
I think my train of thought came to a halt. That's all good.
Okay, that's all right then. So let's have a final thought before I do my quick fire with you. If someone is listening to this, and I feel like we might have answered this already, but if someone's listening to this right now, a young person or the parent of a young person who's feeling a bit knocked, what would you want them to remember from listening to this episode?
I think it really is the simple. It's really not about you.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Yep, it's not about you. It's all of the other pieces all around it. Okay,
Yeah.
let's go for a nice quick fire then. It can be
Okay,
whatever
okay.
comes to your head. It doesn't matter if you've covered it already or if something completely different comes to mind. We'll just quick fire with these 4 questions. One thing that helps most, ooh, I can't even read my own writing. One thing that helps you most in auditions.
Knowing my lines, but rather than knowing them word for word, knowing the general context and the purpose behind the lines, because I I feel like if I over practice and if I'm really like, this is where the comma is, so I have to do a small pause and then da da da, I get I kind of come so far from the actual emotion of it and then to focus on the lines. So this is not necessarily, I think this is a bit of a risky thing to say, but I don't like to learn my lines that much in advance. Also
Mm.
because I memorize very quickly. It's like if
Oh,
you give me
good.
a scene, after I've read it 2 times, I have it down.
That's amazing. I wish I could have that skill. I'm completely the
Yes,
opposite.
because of that, I really usually I'm like 70% off book when I do my first take. So then I still have my script for the first take. Then I chuck the script, do it once to see how much I know,
Mm.
and then I basically just do it that way because then I feel like it's more authentic. But that's where it's important, kind of script analysis and knowing your character is so important because the words don't matter as much if the intent is the same. Obviously, there are some directors or writers who want you to say exactly what's there. So
Yeah,
this is
you're
all,
often auditioning for the writer. Yeah.
this is,
Yeah.
but I guess a lot of the stuff I'm saying, or in general, a lot of the things in the industry really have to be taken with a pinch of salt because there will always be differing opinions. But that's my
Yeah.
personal approach is kind
No,
of,
that's great.
I, I will want to be prepared and I want to know that I know what I'm doing, but I don't want to over prepare and I don't want to nag about lines.
And that's
And that
great because
would,
it works for you. Yeah.
yeah, that's maybe
You
a
know
thing. I
yourself.
think if, yeah, whether it's a parent reading for their child or anyone in general, if the actor misses a word or changes a line or skips like a bit of it, don't cut it because I've
Yes.
had sometimes that I've felt so good in the take of so in the moment, and then they go, "Wait, that wasn't a line." You're like,
Ah, no, don't do that, parents. Top tip. Let them run the whole take. It's not going to
yeah,
be that long. It could be the best take ever, and they've just changed
yeah,
one word for
yeah.
something.
This is also
Yes, I totally agree.
I've seen a lot recently of actors doing kind of like a safe word for their tapes that if they forget the next line or that their end of a line, they just say XYZ, and then the partner knows that they kind of forgot, but then they try to kind of improv their way back on track,
Mm,
which I find very good as well because that can also provide very kind of authentic moments in the
yes.
scene.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, what was that? That was our first quick fire. Second question, a mistake that you feel you made early on in your career that you've actually learnt from.
I
If there's
think
such thing as a mistake, of course.
I think definitely spending so much time on self tapes and really trying to get them to be perfect, not only because it takes so much time and effort from you and whoever's helping you, but
Mm,
also because then it's not necessarily a reflection of your actual skill. If you're sending in your 50th take, it's not the same as if you have like 2 tries on set to do it.
yeah, it's not
Especially,
realistic, is it? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Because it's everything, time is money, especially in this industry. And nobody wants to be there with an actor if they have to do the same scene 50 times.
Yeah.
It's like being a one take wonder is rare, but it's great in the industry. So it's like you really want to kind of make sure that your self tapes are an accurate representation because you don't want
Yes.
to promise something you can't give.
Yeah.
And then I think, yeah, I think that's the main thing
I
for
like
sure.
that. And that's so useful for our listeners. So I think sort of 3 to 5 takes maximum.
Exactly.
I like this retake if you can do it, but sometimes maybe if the lines aren't quite solid, then you need
Yeah.
more. But definitely don't go over 5. Just make him work for everyone, and then it's a bit dead, I think, as well.
Yeah,
I
you
think that
really
should be the
lose the energy
absolute
or you get
max.
so frustrated.
Mm.
I mean, sometimes if it works if your character is frustrated because then you are really crying because you're like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Arr.
But if you're doing like a super happy scene and then you're there like, I cannot, it doesn't really.
No. So, other than that, so that's the mistake you feel you've learnt from and you don't do anymore. How about one thing you wish you'd known when you started out?
Ooh. I think I also had very unrealistic expectations in the sense of I felt like this overnight success was really a kind of not common thing, but a very like realistic thing. And then I think I spent a lot of time feeling like I was not good enough or that I was doing the wrong things because not much was happening. And then I was like, at some point, I finally realized I was like, no, this is just a process.
Yeah.
And I
So,
think
if
that's the thing.
somebody could have told you that, that would have made it a little bit
Yeah, like,
easier.
it's okay
Yeah.
for it to take time, and I think that's the important thing. It's like, no matter how good you are from the start, you can always learn more, you can always do more training.
Yes.
Even if the teachers are saying the same things, every teacher will do it in a different way, and kind of some coaches will work for you, some won't, and it's really so valuable to kind of see the different styles, different techniques. Also, one thing I do improvisation as well as classical acting, and I think that helped me so much, because I've been doing improv for 5 years now, and it really helped me feel more comfortable also doing scripted stuff, because then worst case, if I forget a line or if my partner forgets the line, it doesn't throw me off. I can
Yeah, you've
just
got
adapt
that
to it.
skill.
And I think weirdly enough, it somehow also helped me with memorization. I think because it
Hmm.
really was about kind of memorizing the emotion rather than the words, which is why I can now pick a script up quite quickly. And then
Oh, so that's
improv.
a newer skill. I just presumed that was something you'd had forever. I was always envious at like youth theatre. My now husband, he would look at a text and he would just have it, and I had to work and study so
Yeah.
hard. So you think general brain training, like improvisation, can actually make you better at that?
Yeah,
That's
absolutely. I mean, I
cool.
think it's weird because I think when it comes to acting, I was always quite good with memorization. Like I remember the first time I was kind of in an intensive training setting, I was doing a monologue and I had read it twice and then I could do it off book. But
So
then
jealous.
this I'm very happy about that, but then the only thing is for some reason it works with acting and scripts, but if I was memorizing something when I was studying, not a chance. I was like, it was not
Ah,
sticking. I would really
you
have to
need
go
the
over.
emotion and things in
Yeah,
there.
I
Yeah.
really think so. I'm like, I wish I would have written a monologue with all my, like, biology terms.
Would have been so much easier for you. Well, you
Yeah,
found yourself in the right industry then, if it works for
absolutely.
you that way and not another way. So, final quick fire, what helps you stay grounded in this industry?
I think, yeah, really sticking to the "it's not about me" motto, then knowing that there are so many other people going through the same thing, like this community. And then, yeah, kind of what I said before, just being confident and comfortable with myself and remembering to also take care of myself and knowing that, yeah, kind of taking the pressure off of myself because as a perfectionist and as a high achiever, I kind of have this, well, I didn't book this. And then now if I want to do this by this day, I have to do this and this and this. And I'm like, no, it's gonna take time. You're doing the right things and it's just not time for it yet. And the next when the right thing comes, you'll know. And I just keep putting in the work and make sure that I'm still having fun while doing it. Because
Yes.
yeah, I think the worst feeling is if you have something that you've put a lot of effort in that and you're passionate about and then suddenly it becomes a chore. And then I think especially, yeah, that's so young performers, just make sure that you're having fun with it and
Yes.
kind of yeah, focus on that rather than, oh, I have to be amazing and I have to be in Hollywood next year.
Yeah. As long as they're enjoying it, then keep going.
Exactly.
Definitely. That's beautiful advice. Rebecca, thank you so much. It's been such an honest and helpful conversation today. Would you like to tell listeners where they can find you if they're interested in following you or your work?
Of course. On Instagram, I'm under my whole name, so Rebecca Rendic. And then on TikTok, you can also find me with that name, but then the username is almost probably films. And that's
Perfect. I'll link that in the show notes as well so that
amazing.
people
Thank you.
can find you on there. As always, you can find me as well on the Drama Coach across all of my socials for more support, tools, and guidance. And if you've enjoyed this episode, then please follow the show, send it to somebody who might find it useful. And if you've got a moment to leave a review, that really does help other people find the podcast. Thank you again, Rebecca, and I will be back with another episode of the Drama Coach podcast very soon. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.